Revelation, that's the last book, right?
I think no, I think it's the second to last.
Yeah, I'm just gonna listen, guys, and keep typing here. But if I have any input, I'll make that point or whatever.
Okay.
So you guys do this with all books, say? You go through it. Um, uh, how would I word it? Like
Chapter by chapter, verse by verse,
yeah, like what's the word?
exegetically.
Not exegetically, but fuck, I can't remember now. But yeah, yeah, that's a good thing to do. Go through books, verse by verse. Go through books, and yeah, that a lot of churches, Reformed churches, end up doing that. Their pastors will just go through books, and I think that's a good idea.
I think it is because it takes everything in balance.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're not missing anything, man. I mean, you're going through book by book. You know.
Anyone wish to be the reader for the number 8?
How many verses is it? Yeah, it's just 13. I'll do it.
Okay, B.
Okie baby. You want to hear this in Pig Latin or you want to just hear it in English? Sorry. Revelation chapter 8. When the Lamb when the Lamb opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven for about half an hour. Then I saw the seven angels who stand before the throne, and seven trumpets were given to them. And another angel came and stood at the altar with a golden censer, and he was given much incense to offer with the prayers of all the saints on the golden altar before the throne. And the smoke of the incense with the prayers of the saints rose before God from the hand of the angel. Then the angel took the censer and filled it with fire from the altar and threw it on the earth. And there were peals of thunder, rumblings, flashings of lightning, and an earthquake. Now the seven angels who had the seven trumpets prepared to blow them. The first angel blew his trumpet, and there followed hail and fire mixed with blood, and these were thrown upon the earth. And a third of the earth was burned up, and a third of the trees were burned up, and all the green grass was burned up. The second angel blew his trumpet, and something like a great mountain burning with fire was thrown into the sea, and a third of the sea became as blood. A third of the living creatures in the sea died, and a third of the ships were destroyed. The third angel blew his trumpet, and a great star fell from heaven, blazing like a torch, and it fell on a third of the rivers and on the springs of the water. The name of the star is Wormwood. A third of the waters became wormwood, and many people died from the water because it had been made bitter. The fourth angel blew his trumpet, and a third of the sun was struck, and a third of the moon, and a third of the stars, so that a third of their light might be darkened, and a third of the day might be kept from shining, and likewise a third of the night. Then I looked, and I heard an eagle crying with a loud voice as it flew directly overhead. Woe, woe, woe to those who dwell on the earth at the blast of the other trumpets that the three angels are about to blow. One thing I'd just like to say is verse 3 really reminds me of Isaiah. Does that aid to you where, you know, Isaiah's lips are touched with the, I'm sorry, not verse 3, it's
6.
verse 6.
Chapter 6, sorry.
Uh, I mean, yeah, it's chapter 6 in Isaiah, but it's, where is it? Here, I just read it. It's not it's the hot coals.
Yes. In Revelation 8, I'm not sure, but I know it's Isaiah 6.
Yeah, I just read it. Hold on. Let me scan back. Okay, It's verse 5. Then the angel took the censer and filled it with fire from the altar and threw it on the earth. So it's like a touching, like Isaiah's lips.
Yeah, I
So
see
it's
what you're
almost like
saying.
a purifying thing. And one other thing I wanted to mention, and that's at verse 13. This is the three angels. And so that's the whole thing that the Seventh-day Adventists are about, is the three angels' message, because they think that that's not happened yet. That's all I got.
Yeah. What about the 30 minutes or half an hour thing?
I'd love to know what that's all about.
Well, I don't. I don't know. I mean, there is the whole "we're in the last hour," are in the last hour, but I don't know what's about the. Yeah, I don't get it. A half hour? I don't know.
What does the Greek say about? Does it say 30
Which verse has half
I'm gonna
hour?
look at it really quick. It's at verse 1. It says for about a half an hour. Like there were
Yeah.
sounds. Let's see. Okay, let's take a look here. So a revelation. That's what it's really called, by the way. Not revelation, revelation. Just so you guys
I
know.
like that word better. That sounds awesome. Revelation. That's got some kick to it.
Okay, let's see here. It's chapter 8, and we got here about, which is the Greek word os, and then half hour, which is harem, haremron or something, which is a base. So it's made of two Greek words. Let's see here. How do I click that? Strong's number 225 and Greek number 5610. Half hour. Man, I can't click that. What the heck? It's like a trick. I gotcha. Actually, maybe I could just type that in here. Maybe. Hold on. Aha, here we go. I got it now. Alright, so it's a Greek word, hemeron, and it's made of two words. This one is, through the idea, the meaning semi, or a half, and then the word hour or time. It's technically like half hour.
Do you think any of this is literal?
I mean, I don't think like this literal half an hour. I'm not really sure.
Oh,
Like
well, I
that.
mean, like the part where it says like a third of the sun and the third of the moon and the stars was all smitten, and a third of the day was darkened. Like these are all metaphors to me. Like that's saying like a third, basically like you have all the people in Jerusalem. Like a third of them were gonna get trashed or toasted or fall from their positions. You know?
Yeah,
They
I
were
do know
yeah, they were gonna be.
the where it talks about the world, like a third. Like, give me an example. Let's see, verse. Just want to see the word because I know it's the word "gi" or "gay," however you want to pronounce it. Come on, where's a third of the world? The third.
Like, do you think a third of the people died from drinking bitter water?
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of people did die because there was going to be nothing but dead bodies all over the place. So it'd be pretty hard to find some water, especially considering the Romans blocked them in. Nobody leaves.
Does anyone know if Josephus talks about the water being contaminated or anything like that? Or because I know I think he talks about the eating of the children and stuff, but does he talk about that?
I'm not sure.
He talks about a great drought, but then he talks about also that there was the drought ended and both the pools on the east and the west were overflowing.
I mean, this half an hour thing, that's the opening of the seventh seal. So whatever's going down when the seventh seal is happening, that's where we are with the little pause of silence. and then all these other things start happening, right? Then the trumpets and
I wonder, because Joel has said this is just a recapitulation of
yeah,
the judgment over and over again. That if this half an hour is like from 66 to 70 AD, where
yeah.
you know,
That's how I was thinking. Yeah,
yeah,
Like the hour being the 7 years.
right. Like that's why he says we are in the last hour, and then he's saying for about a half an hour. So it's like really, really crunch time now.
Yeah, the 3.5 years. I mean, definitely, I definitely see this. How do you say the word recapitulation or whatever?
that's exactly right.
Yeah, so I definitely see that. I mean, if you read chapter 6, I mean, come on, man, you gotta say that that's like the ending of it. Like, that's the coming of the Lord.
Right.
Like, that's exactly how you would explain it. The
So really, this
the
is Hebrew
heavens depart.
parallelism,
Yeah, this is like Hebrew
but
parallelism,
not
like at
not
its
just in a
finest.
verse, but yeah, at
Yeah,
its majesty. Where it's whole chapters that are parallel.
yeah, and it just constantly repeats it, but uses different type of hyperbole, you could say.
Well, that's the same thing Jesus did, didn't he? Tell them the same thing 65 different ways. I mean,
Similar, yeah, for sure. I mean, even like, so what is it? You have chapter 6, it's the coming of the Lord. Then when is it again? Like chapter 14, I think there's the coming of the Lord.
You got chapter 11 at the end of the trumps.
Let
Then
me
you have
see. Hold on. Let
then
me
you have
see.
16 at the end of the vials.
So you said chapter 11?
Yeah, well, at the end of the trumps, you have the judgment and the resurrection of the dead and the kingdom. And so that's the end of the trumpets. It's the same as Revelation 6. Christ comes, vindicates the martyrs, and his wrath is poured out, Revelation 6:17. It's the same ideas here with the trumpets. It's recapitulated. Then you get to the vials. It's recapitulated.
And that's chapter
Um,
what? 14?
chapter 11 is where you're going to see the end of the vials or the end of the trumpets. But chapter 16, I believe, is the end of the vial judgments. Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, it's been a while since I've been in Revelation, so I mean, Revelation 8's really difficult. I mean, if you're not studying it at the moment, it's
there was, yeah, I forgot. Like way back in the day, it used to stump me because I was like, "What's going on here?" If you're reading Revelation, if it's like supposed to be some sort of like linear book, right? Like the people that read it in order and take it like that. In chapter 6, we read, just last time, and the stars of heaven fell onto the earth, even as fig trees, right? And the moon went dark, and the stars fell. Well, if the stars all fell, then how are they darkening over here in chapter 8? It's like clearly it's not talking about the actual sun, moon, and stars because they can't all fall out the sky and do all this other terrible stuff and then be there getting dimmed like 10 minutes later.
I did it. I did a quick video on this. Maybe I'll just post it in there, you guys, if you want to watch it. Both the recapitulation and the structure of Revelation. It's kind of an overview. Let me see here.
Can somebody play it for us?
What's that?
It
If you post it,
depends on how long it is, really.
yeah. If it's quick, then you could post it, and then one of these guys that can share their screen can play it for us, and we can actually look at it together.
It's 20 minutes, I guess, guys.
Yeah, that's pretty long.
Yeah, and I gotta get like that. I gotta start using my computer for that. I need to get like a headset
Right.
to
Yeah, you can
use
just share
the
us the
Google.
link, and we'll just watch it like some other time, I guess. We'll watch it when we have free time because 20 minutes is quite a long video.
20. Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, if it was like 10 minutes, we could do that, but.
But post it on the chat board for sure.
But yeah, you see, I mean, for the dispensationalists, they're the only ones that see this as sequential, right? Revelation that it's sequential, that this follows this follows this. But
Right.
everyone else, all millennialists, post millennialists, we see it as recapitulation because it's very, very clear. Revelation 6, Revelation 11, Revelation 16. Is there, and they believe this is the 7-year tribulation. Well, wait a minute. You got 3 comings of the Lord within the 7-year tribulation. I mean, that's not part of their doctrine. So it's pretty much aimed at primarily Babylon. Of course, Rome is in view, but Babylon is pretty much in view. We see that in Revelation 6. We see that in Revelation 11. In Revelation 16, the vials poured upon Babylon and the earth. So, yeah.
You were talking about Job earlier, Stacy. Do you remember from Job that one part where he's, I guess, talking to Job and he's like doing the whole thing from the whirlwind, I guess, or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
But it says here in Revelation, the part about the hailstones being, the first angel sounded and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood and they were cast upon the earth. There's some part in Job where he says, like, have you seen the storehouses of hail reserved for the great day of judgment?
Right. Right.
Because I was always wondering if that hail that was reserved, was it for this revelation, or was it for, because there was a time, not too far after Job where the hailstones came out the sky and smote all the Amorites as Joshua was chasing them around. But I think it's the revelation hailstones he was talking about in Job. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just thought that interesting. The hailstones, and then Job had the hailstones mentioned.
It is, and all these recapitulations might be showing, look here, Job is talking about the end times, and then another book, and then they use another type of imagery and saying, see here, this also is talking about the end times. So it's throughout, it's multiple places, and so they're invoking all these Old Testament scriptures through all these recapitulations. In other words, saying that Job bears witness of this because they're talking about the hail. Joel, I'm sure you're familiar with it towards the end, verse 13, where it's talking about the 3 angels' message, because you've looked at Seventh-day Adventist doctrine as well, right?
Yeah, I grew up in the church and I was baptized into it at 18.
Yeah, they're all about that. In fact, their stained glass window of the Seventh-day Adventist church that I am friends with, they have the 3 angels flying in the air, blowing their trumpets.
Well, I mean, this is what they think they should be preaching to the world. What about the cross of Christ? What about the gospel? I mean, the 3 angels' message is not gospel; it's anti-gospel. The investigative judgment. I mean, how anti-gospel can you get? I mean, I had pastors here with master's degrees at my sister's when I was living there, and they left in a huff and a puff. And I said, you better be able to defend your understanding of the mark of the beast, because you are putting that mark of the beast on all non-Seventh-day Adventists for when supposedly the mark of the beast goes out. So I said, you better defend your doctrine damn well, because he couldn't defend it. We got into the Sabbath and investigative judgment, and it was pretty apparent he couldn't defend it. But Revelation 14, that's their that's their gospel. Yeah. And it's a crossless gospel, right?
Right. I mean, I've got some friends who are Seventh-day Adventists that don't know the doctrine that well. I get along with them really well, but some of the high-ranking elders and stuff, there's like a dark cloud, a dark aura around them, that's just disturbing. And they're very bitter, you know.
Okay, so the three angels' message is pretty much the gospel to preach to those that live on the earth in every nation and tribe and tongue and people. Of course, they don't preach the gospel. And he said with a loud voice, fear God, give him glory, because the hour of his judgment is come. Worship him who made the heaven, earth, and the sea. And so they'll go back to Genesis or Exodus, Genesis, and say, oh, there's the Sabbath, Revelation 14:7. So we got to preach the Sabbath. We got to preach this judgment, this message of judgment. In verse 8, the fall of Babylon, and if anyone takes the mark of the beast. Where's the cross? Where's justification? It's completely not there. And this is what I was trying to tell one guy that would come with the pastor, Billy. I said, get into Romans, study justification. My heart goes out to the Adventist people, though.
Mine too.
Yeah.
And that part here about the waters, I was just thinking, the wormwood and the waters being made bitter. Well, what about the other part where it says there's going to be water, living water flowing? So, to me, that's, again, the water, whatever this water is it's speaking of, it seems to be something spiritual because, it got bitter. Why? Because people were teaching the wrong thing, yeah?
I wonder if C.S. Lewis used...
Why they were dying.
I wonder if C.S. Lewis used the... because in Screwtape Letters, there's two demons talking back and forth with one another, and one of them is called Wormwood, and I'm wondering if he used that from Revelation. He got that.
It's a possibility because, yeah, the devils, the demons, whatever you want to call them, the bad people, they were speaking the wrong thing, So that, like Hymenaeus and Philetus, that's bitter water. Boom, those guys are dead, right? Not like physically drop dead just randomly, but you know what I'm saying? Like they're dead spiritually because they're basically rejecting Jesus at this point. So that's why the wormwood was killing them, right? Make sense metaphorically?
Right.
I mean, it could just be that the water was like legit poisoned, but
When you have a lot of people together and a water source, you're going to get dysentery.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to find a video. I remember he explained wormwood. I can't find it. Dang.
You know that alcohol called absinthe? That's made from wormwood.
Gotcha. Maybe that's what he was talking about.
It's hallucinogenic, too.
Yeah, I don't know. let's see here. I have a note here on my Bible. On the Bible. The Bible. Let's see. Open up that sword that's made from an E. Jeremiah chapter 9.
You've also got that fantastic book, right, of the library. You could look at that Revelation and see if there's anything in Revelation 8.
Yeah, I guess I could. Let's take a look. Revelation. There it is. It's actually the smallest book out of all of them.
Yeah, if you look in Revelation 11, at the very end, the climax, the kingdom comes, judgment is given. Verse 19, and the temple of God which is in heaven was opened, and the ark of his covenant appeared in this temple. And there were flashings, lightnings, earthquakes, so on and so forth. And so at the climax of these seals or trumpets, the temple is open. And we see this in, I think it's Revelation chapter 15 or 16. The temple is opened again. So obviously this is recapitulation of the same war, you know what I mean, and the climax, and so the temple is open. In other words, man can now enter the presence of God uh, at this time, at the parousia or whatever.
That's
Yeah,
exactly right.
it's kind of a point they said I'd seen there.
Yeah, I would have to agree with, seeing all that stuff. I mean, I used to believe, it's all just, from chapter 1 to chapter 20, 22, 21, all that was, all in order. But now I see it's, pretty much the same story being told over and over and over again. But this biblical library, I mean, I don't know what you want me to read. It's just, there'd be a lot of notes that they have here.
Just anything interesting, if there is.
Let's see. Let's see if they say anything about the first hour, the half hour. Signal reigned
That'd be
for about
great.
a half an hour. Up to this point, all the attention was on the throne. No, they don't go into the half hour thing. I mean, just reading their notes would take me it's pretty much Revelation chapter 8, but times 10, 15.
They don't have. Is there a thing like in the back of the book, like an index where like you could look up wormwood or anything? Is there anything like that?
Let's take a look.
It's funny. In Greek, the word wormwood is absinthos, which is where we get absinthium, which is the name of that alcohol, absinthe.
Mhm.
Yeah, if you drink too much of that, you're dead.
No, they don't have anything about wormwood in the back of here. They have a lot of stuff in here, though. But not like anything about wormwood. They do have an interpretation that's listed down here, and they say preterist. But I think I've read it before, and they're just like heretics.
Well, if there's nothing else on 8, I think we can switch to 9, where everybody starts leaving. What do you think? You got enough time, Stacy? All right, then.
Any volunteers?
I guess I can just do it. I don't care. All right. So here we go. Chapter 9 of the Revelations, you know. And the 5th angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, and the smoke of a great as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God on their foreheads. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man. And in those days shall men seek death and not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. And the shape of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle, and their on their heads were as it were crowns like gold, and their faces were like the faces of men. And they had hair and the hair of women, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions. And they had breastplates, as it were breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots, and many horses running to battle. And they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails, and the power was to hurt men 5 months. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. One woe is past, and behold, there come 2 woes more hereafter. And the 6th angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the 4. I've heard a voice from the 4 horns of the golden altar. Is that what that says? This is all goofy right here. Which is before God, saying to the 6th angel, which had the trumpet, loose the 4 angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. And the 4 angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour, a day, and a month, and a year, for to slay the 3rd part of men. And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000, and I heard the number of them. And thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire, and I don't know that word, and brimstone, and the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued fire, and smoke and brimstone. By these three was the third part of men killed, by fire, by the smoke, and by the brimstone which issued out of their mouths. For the power is in their mouth, and in their tails. Their tails were like unto serpents, and had heads, and with them they do hurt. And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues, yet repented not of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils and idols of gold and silver and brass and stone and of wood, and neither can see, nor hear, nor walk. Neither repented they of their murders, nor their sorceries, nor their fornication, nor of their thefts. The end.
I've forgotten how dark Revelation 9 is. But if you go to the Wikipedia and you look at the siege of Jerusalem, that 5-month period, it talks about that there were Roman ballistas, that these men with horses would haul this ballista in, and the ballista in Greek is called Scorpio.
Right. Yeah, they had ballistas and catapults, right?
Right, and right. So it's like a catapult, but it's a ballista where it's not a big flaming boulder, but it's a arrow, and it's meant for strategic strikes, not for mass destruction like the boulder would be on the catapult. So it's more of a strategic a thing. And then when it's talking about the ones that were idolaters, that were worshiping gold, don't you remember when Christ said, "You hypocrites, because you say whoever swears at the gold of the temple, that you should do rather than swear on the temple which sanctifies the gold." So it does really, Revelation 9 really looks like the siege of Jerusalem in that 5-month period to me.
Yeah, and I mean before that it said with the whole seals, it's that was maybe just a slight bit beforehand or something, because it says don't hurt anybody yet, like wait until like you don't hurt, like it's given power to hurt all this stuff, like sea and the earth and the trees and the grass and all this stuff, which I think are all just metaphors for people. Because here it's the trees seem fine, I think, right? Is that what it said? The trees are fine and whatnot, but like all the men that were like not repenting and whatnot were the ones that were getting hurt because they had already been sealed. The good guys were already sealed. The bad guys were the ones getting destroyed now. But they were tormented for 5 months, before the actual coming in and starting to really get everybody. Right, that would be quite torturous. You could imagine, right? You're surrounded on all sides. You can't leave the city. Nobody can leave. You can't go out and get more supplies. We're stuck. And then they start lobbing stuff at you. So you're just chilling with your normal day, trying to get on with life, and next thing you know, there's stuff flying out the sky at you randomly. You gotta watch out for. Wrecking people's houses and stuff.
I just wanted to make a point there. That was a good point someone made up with the 5 months. I'd have to look into that some more, because that is pretty interesting, actually. Just on verse, just a small point, 9 verse 6, and in those days men will seek death and will not find it. They will long to die, and death flees from them. This is definitely like the brother said, the siege of Jerusalem, and this is a repeat of Revelation chapter 6, where the kings of the earth and all the mighty men of the earth try to hide into the mountains and into the caves. So that's a recapitulation there as well. But there's another point I was going to make, but I can't remember now. Who was that mentioned that 5 month period? Is it that in Josephus? Is it?
Actually, if you go to Wikipedia and you just type in the siege of Jerusalem, it actually gives you in detail a lot of it from Josephus, but it's all right there for you, and you can actually go through. So I think it's the siege of Jerusalem, or something like that, for 70 AD or something. But there's a Wikipedia site, a page dedicated specifically for that, and it talks about that. I was looking at the also I was looking at the beast, and I was looking at the banners because it actually will tell you what legions were there and what was on their banner. The griffin was one of them. The I think it was the swine was one of them or something, and Apollyon was one of the banners as well. So that is sort of interesting too. That it really ties closely. It mirrors. It sort of shows you this 5 month period what was going on. I think it's called the Siege of Jerusalem wiki page.
I
Right.
think like I have Josephus right here in the corner of my desk because I want to start reading them again. It's been years, and I think if us here, all of us, if we don't even have a hard copy of Josephus, just read it online, the Wars. Um, Read that and read Revelation. I mean, Kenneth Gentry's doing a major commentary right now. He's been working at it for like 20 years or whatever, but he said he could do a commentary, just Josephus commenting on the whole book of Revelation pretty much, you know. He said that's how much Josephus is actually there. And so, yeah, one of these days I really want to get into Josephus, the Wars, the five books there, and study Revelation from that vantage point. Of course, using commentaries, but yeah, I think next time I do it, Josephus will be in the mix for sure. But I'm going to look that up right now on the siege there. That's interesting. I like to see the quotes.
It shows the month that it started, the month that it ended, all of that. It's in the way that the Roman army surrounded them, allowing everybody to come in for Passover and then not allowing them to leave. So it was overpopulated. So the food supply would go down, and then the ballistas were there, which were called Scorpios. All of that stuff. It's just amazing.
Right, and that's why the death would flee them, right? They wanted to die because they were like, we're screwed, like, just kill me. And then they'd be like, no, I ain't killing you, dude. Like, no. Like, you'd be screwed. You'd be stuck in there. There's nothing to do. And nobody's going to kill you unless you, I mean, apparently there were stories from Josephus, like, at one point, if somebody tried to go out and, like, get some herbs, like, try and grab them to eat something, they would get killed. But I think that's, like, well into it. But there would be that initial part where, you know, they're first coming and they're first surrounding, and it's like, uh-oh, you know? That, I think, is when people were, like, seeking to die.
And it was strategic for the Roman army not to kill them because the less they killed them, there's more mouths to take up the food supply.
Exactly, yeah. Mm-hmm. Because they were building all the way around Jerusalem. Like, they literally blocked them in. They built a giant wall around the whole thing.
But the rabbit hole keepers love Revelation 9:11 because that's talking about the bottomless pit, and they say it's CERN, and they're trying to build this huge black hole, which is a bottomless pit in that rabbit hole.
Yeah, they love to do that. But then again, those people believe in angels and angel sex and all that lovely stuff. Any idea what's up with the where is it? I guess it's just maybe the armies, but whatever. It says, you know, they were prepared for an hour, a day, a month, and a year for to slay a third part of men. I mean, what is even a bottomless pit? Like, how could you physically possibly have a bottomless pit? Like, that doesn't even work. Got to be a metaphor.
I mean, it could be.
But
Or
you
it's
can't do it.
literal.
I guess the only way you could do it is if you plowed all the way to the bottom of the earth.
But I
Now,
thought but if the Earth is flat, how does that happen?
I don't know, because apparently they've only been able to drill down like 8 miles, and then they just can't go any farther for some strange reason. It just like doesn't work anymore. The drills keep breaking.
Yeah, unfortunately. Let's Google that. What is the deepest?
It's definitely metaphorical to me, because first off, this bottomless pit requires a key. Like, okay, that's strange.
Dang, dude. The deepest hole is the Kola Super Deep Borehole, which was just 9 inches in diameter. But it's 40,203 feet deep. And you know how long it took them to dig that? 20 years. That's crazy. $20 to dig that hole? Maybe that's the bottom. I mean, isn't the bottomless pit CERN?
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's the story.
I mean,
Because
it's
it's a
gotta
black
be.
hole, right? They're trying to make a mini black hole. So a
Yeah,
black
that's
hole would
the.
be a bottomless pit.
Yeah. See, that's what it's talking about, not 70s.
Can I interject for a second there? I just can't find that article there. I have one up here. I'm looking for the part where it speaks of the 5 months during the siege. I have here the siege of Jerusalem, 70 CE. So this would be the one I'd imagine.
Yeah, let me look through it and see if I can help you find it.
So what's the point with the 5 months?
It says when they started the siege and when it ended, and Josephus talks about that.
Yeah.
And
So it's
so I'll
a
have to go
5-month period, and that's what. Yeah, they were. Yeah, they were tormenting them for 5 months. They weren't like necessarily trying to go in and kill them yet. They were just tormenting them by shooting them with crap. They weren't trying to kill anybody, because, like we said earlier, the strategy was to starve them out.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's part of the siege idea, right? You know what I mean? That's been going on for quite a long time, thousands of years. You siege a city, and yeah, they're pretty much screwed, you know. But the Jews are tough. I mean, they are tough. They're tough. I mean. With the revolt and everything, they're pretty cocky, you know.
I mean, all the like movies and stuff. I think Josephus might have actually said it, but all the movies and shows and stuff that are about this seem to show that there was a part where, like Vespasian or whatever is there, and then like he doesn't know what's going on or anything, and then Josephus, after he's conquered, tells him like straight up, like, you're the dude in the prophecy. So then he's like, oh really? And then he goes to go become emperor and sends Titus back to finish the job. So like there's the whole bit where Josephus basically prophesied to Vespasian, telling him that he was going to be the guy, or Titus, the son.
Yeah, the siege ended in August the 30th, 70 AD,
Yeah.
and they started the siege when it was during Passover, which was in April. So you got April, May, June, July, and August, and that's 5 months.
So the 5 months was for what?
From Passover, which is basically is in April,
Yeah.
to August the 30th.
So that what would you call that? That would be the destruction, or what is that? The destruction of the temple?
That was the 5 month period of torment.
5 month period of torment. Okay. Yeah, if that ties in, I mean that's a pretty good point there, man. If that ties in there, yeah.
So what it says right here in the wiki page, it says Titus began his siege a few days before Passover, surrounding the city with 3 legions. So if you count from Passover to August the 30th, you'll get 5 months right there. And then he actually says which legions were actually there: Apollinaris, which was the 15th legion; Fulminata, which was the 12th; the 5th legion, which was Macedonica; and the 10th legion, which was Fretensis. And you can actually Google those, and you actually see what was on the banner. One is a griffin, and I forgot what Apollinaris was, but there's Apollo or Apollinaris right there as well. And you've got a 5 month period. There's so many things that sort of, I mean, I can't fit it all together, but you do see these images of Scorpio, you see Apollinaris, and you see the 5 months. So it really does look like Josephus is talking about, you know, the siege being that torment period.
Well, that's some amazing stuff there. What you said. Um, this is vital. I think is to have Josephus in hand with Revelation. I mean, I think that's important, and that's what I'm going to be doing. Sometime in the future. But yeah, like I said, if we understand it as recapitulation of this same judgment on Jerusalem, that the beginning of the trumpets or seals, that's 66, and it's gradually going into the day of the Lord, 70 AD. I think if we look at it that way, Revelation, it's much more easier to understand.
Yeah, I think Josephus was totally spared for the very reason of him writing down all these things after the fact. Like there's quite a crazy story of how Josephus got out of where he got captured. Like when he got captured, he basically was like the last man standing.
Well, he wrote that for was it Titus or Vaspy, and he wrote it in 79.
Yeah, they wrote it afterwards. But I mean, if you know the story of how Josephus even got to be like on the side, like he was with them with Titus and whatnot. So like he was giving them like instruction. I guess he was trying to like save his brethren, but like he was actually just giving Titus the information that he needed.
Well, yeah. I mean, Titus captured him, so I mean, he had no choice. But at the same time, yeah, he's at one of the walls, crying for them to give themselves up. Before they're slaughtered.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there is a story. I don't know if it's true or not, but there's a story of when Josephus was captured, and he was supposedly hiding in a well with a bunch of other Jews, and they didn't want to die, so they all agreed to like kill each other so that they wouldn't have to, go through this, so that they would all like do it to each other, so that they wouldn't be like, I guess, sinning or whatever. And then they did it in such a way so that Josephus and the person that Josephus didn't want to die were the only two people left standing. And then so they got him out the well, and then that's how he got with Titus. And then from there on, they went and tried to get them to surrender, but they never would because they looked at Josephus as a traitor. But it seems odd to me, he did make it through the whole thing, and then he's all buddy-buddy with Vespasian. I mean, he's the reason pretty much why they would have done it, as far as I can tell. Like Josephus told them straight up, like you're the dude in the prophecy. Like it's about you, man. After getting wind of that, he was like, okay. They even told him, I think, how many days it would be until the wall of Jerusalem fell. And then there's a cute little story where they dug underneath the walls and they like did something. They had a fire that got lit under there, and that's the whole reason that their wall fell. And that one day when it fell, it just fell because they had weakened their own wall by accident because they were digging underneath it. The dude, and it got like lit on fire by accident, and it burned all the support beams, and the wall fell.
Did that fire do away with a lot of the grain and a lot of the food and whatnot, or?
It could have. I'm not sure. I mean, I know that they were definitely short on food, and I'm sure there were people sabotaging. I do believe I heard something about people sabotaging the food, and like because they were all stuck in there together. You have some believers, some not believers that were all stuck in there. Not everybody died, but it was terrible. You had kind of believers in there. I mean, that was like that. Definitely, that's the worst like siege ever. Like, I would have to agree when it says there'll be no thing before or after ever again like this. Like, that's definitely got to be 70 AD. Because I've never heard of any battle or anything else being worse than the things that were going on in Jerusalem in 70 AD. Like eating their babies and all sorts of like terrible stuff like that. Like, oh my God. Cutting people open to get their coins because they ate them. Like, that's.
Okay, if you also Google the Wikipedia page called Scorpio weapon, it says
What am I Googling?
actually it's on Wikipedia. It's called Scorpio.
Oh, we can't trust Wikipedia.
It says
All
the
right, so what do I
Scorpio
type? Hold on, I want to follow you.
okay, Scorpio, SCORPIO space Wikipedia.
Let's take a look.
Look it up on the Wikipedia.
But this one says astrology, though.
No. Okay, do this then. Scorpio and then space and then put in parentheses weapon.
All right, let's see. I got you.
The Scorpio or scorpion was a type.
52 BC. What are you reading? The design, or?
Hold on, let me see if I can put this there for you.
Because I see exactly what you're saying. During use, it says in 52 BC during the siege of a war with Julius Caesar, so it's definitely been before 70 AD for sure.
Yeah, so it's a siege weapon.
Yeah, wow, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I can see pictures of it. It's like pretty much like a giant like crossbow kind of thing.
Exactly.
Right, and if you have you would have the soldiers aligned in the front of them, and then so that's why it looks like from your.
So you've got horses.
It looks like they're on horses, the breastplates of iron, faces of men, and stings in their tails. Like
Exactly.
Wait, so go through it one more time. Let's just go through it really quick, so I can kind of like write it down. All right, so in chapter 9, let me see. So I guess it should start when the bottomless pit, the abyss of smoke went out of the pit like the smoke of a great furnace. The sun was dark in the air, and the smoke out like locusts came forth the earth, and authority was given to them as scorpions. All right, then what's the next one that you said? Someone faces or whatever. So he said to them that they should not harm the grass on the earth, nor every green thing, nor every tree, except only the men who do not have the seal of Yah on their foreheads, the seal of God on their foreheads. And it was given to them that they should not kill them, but that they should torture them 5 months. And you made a good point with the 5 months.
Their king was Apollyon, and I believe that Apollinaris was the one that had the Scorpios.
Like as their sign on their flag, you were saying, right?
No, not as their sign, but that was what that legion I think specialized in. You've got different legions that had different strengths and different
Gotcha.
weapons. I think that's what's that there. So you've got Apollyon, which was the Roman legion, I think Apollinaris, because it
What
does
what
sound.
what what do you think? Yeah, no, it's interesting. What do you think of the locusts?
They are the locusts. Like,
They are the scorpions. They are the locust,
well, the whole army is the locusts. I mean,
because their torment was like the torment of a scorpion when it stings someone. Verse 5.
Can I say something, guys, right quick?
Sure.
Yeah, the locusts, if you look in, it's either Deuteronomy 28 through 30 or Leviticus 26, that's one of the covenant cursings on Israel. And so what we see here in these judgment passages from Revelation 6 through 19, we see a lot of the covenant cursings. And even in here in Revelation 9, it says the second and third woe has been made. And this is very, very, very important because in Leviticus 26, Yahweh says, I will punish you 7 times for your sins. 7 times. And he says that 4 times to them in Leviticus 26. And what do we have in Revelation? We have 7 seals. We have 7 trumps. We have 7 woes, which people miss, and 7 vials. 4 times he said, I will punish you 7 times for your sin. So the structure here is definitely the covenant cursings upon Israel, upon Babylon, that we see in Deuteronomy 28 through 30, but especially Leviticus 26. That's how I would see that, and that is covenant cursings, the locusts. We see that there in Leviticus or Deuteronomy, I believe.
Right. So here John is using he's invoking the Old Testament imagery, but applying it to the Roman army. Because in verse 7 it says the appearance of the locusts were like horses prepared for battle. Well, if you actually see a Scorpio, you're going to have a horse to haul it. On their heads were like crowns of gold. Well, they did have these huge armor. Their faces were like human faces because they were men. Their hair was like women's hair. If you've seen a Roman soldier's helmet, you can see, all the stuff on there. Their breastplates were breastplates of iron, and the noise of their wings were like the noise of many chariots with horses rushing into battle. So, and their tails were the sting. So that was the actual crossbow type weapon that they were hauling.
yeah, I
And
mean,
then they had 5 months.
the perfect picture of exactly what happened. Like it's me just exactly describing exactly what the Roman armies would look like when they rolled up. Yeah, the horses, like you were saying, that's the verse you were looking for, I think, Zach. 7, starting in 7, that's where the dudes are. Shapes of the locusts were like on the horses prepared in the battle, yeah. Their teeth was as the teeth of lions. I don't know, that could be, again, the helmets. Some of those helmets had like lion's teeth around the face. But this is the stuff I like to bust out on people because they're just You know, it's like, but look, it totally matches 70 AD. Like it perfectly matches. What are the odds that it match on so many things, and then you're gonna find the one thing that's like, oh nope, it's all wrong. Oh,
As far as the lion's teeth, the griffin was one of the banners of one of the legions that were there. I forgot what number it was, but their symbol was a griffin, and that is a lion.
Yeah, it's like a lion with an eagle head. Or yeah, no, sometimes they do depict it as like a straight up lion, don't they?
A lion with eagle's talons,
right,
and wings. Different things, but it's there. But it's just funny. It's like, okay, how can I describe the Roman army in Old Testament imagery? That's exactly what it sounds like. So what Joel was saying, these are the curses. That's exactly what I think. Yeah.
right. And then at the end of the chapter here, it does say like the people that are being killed are well, all the people still after all these plagues happened still didn't repent of their idolatry and sorceries and all this other stuff. Right? It's because it's against men. They neither repented of their murders, nor their sorceries, nor their fornication, nor their thefts, nor their idol worship of gold, silver, wood, iron, brass, all these things. I mean, those zealots were some crazy dudes. What does yours say for that one verse that I couldn't read? It was like all ridiculous and weird. I couldn't read it. Where did that one go?
Tell me what verse that is.
Yeah, I gotta find it. There. Fire, smoke, and brimstone. It was somewhere around that brimstone.
Yeah, I remember it was right by the brimstone, which is what verse?
Well, I see brimstone in 17, so it was either before that or after that. But it had like a Y in there and then some goofy word which I couldn't read. Oh my gosh, where did it go? Oh, there it is. It's 17. I don't know what it says. It says, and I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire and of
sapphire.
Okay, it says IACINCT for me. So like, that's definitely not sapphire to me.
Are you looking at the what is that? The old King James?
Yeah, it says Ycinct or Jcinct or something.
I don't know if I've got that, but I got the Bishop's Bible. It would be similar. Oh, okay. And I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having fiery habergeons of a jacinth color.
Yeah, jacinth. Yeah, that's the word that I.
Okay. So that, I guess scholars are saying that's sapphire. You and your old English.
I know, right? Well, every now and then it just throws some goofy word at you, and it's like, what? Like somewhere in there too, where I was reading, there was a Y in place of the the word the gets replaced a lot by the letter Y with a dot over it.
Yeah, I'll never forget though when you were reading Joshua, you said cause and it was caves.
Yes, they hid themselves in the cause. It looked like CAUE.
Right, and the U was a V back then.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, dope. That was silly. Okay, so sixth angel. Let's see. Sixth angel had the trumpet loose the four angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. So, yeah. And then the four angels are loose. Those are the ones that are prepared. But what happened with the sixth seal? Does anybody remember? Yeah, and I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became, okay, I don't know. Beats me.
Well, there was so much fire going on and so much smoke that I could imagine that was what it's referring to, that was darkening the sun.
Yeah. I just think a lot of people like to take some of these things and run with them crazy directions. But it's like, I don't know what these four angels are bound in the Euphrates, because that's where the people go into the crazy stuff, and they're like, see the fallen angels, they're gonna be released from they're bound. They were bound back in for Jude or whatever.
Yeah, but it's four angels, right?
Yeah.
There were four legions. They may
Interesting.
have all come from that particular area.
Yeah, that would be interesting, because now that would be interesting if we could find that those four particular groups or whatever were all stationed over somewhere about a Euphrates first. They were bound in the Euphrates. Get it? They were tied up. They were busy. Just like back in the day with Daniel, he's like, "Oh, behold, I come to you now, but like the Prince of Persia withstood me for so long." So anyway, my bad. He withstood him. He held him up. He was bound. Yeah, because to me, there's definitely no angels bound up anywhere. Like, that's silly. But that would be very interesting if we found where those four legions were positioned prior to.
I think there are records of those legions' movements. I was looking into that at the time, but then I got caught up into other studies, so I had to put that on pause. But I think there are, documents showing, if not all of them, at least some of them, where their movements were. It even says that one of those legions, which was the swine symbol, I forgot what number legion that was, but it was over there at the area where Jesus has the what is that, the G word, the demoniac of that area. Where was that at? Where the swine were?
Oh, you're talking about the Legion dude?
Yeah, the Legion guy. That it's funny that Legion was there at that time.
Right. That, I mean, to me, that makes sense. It's got to be something more than just like some dude is seriously possessed by like a trillion demons, and then he's so bat crazy, and then he just talks to Jesus for like 2 seconds. And see, that's the funny thing. All these people who are supposedly like demonically possessed and stuff, right? They all immediately know who Jesus is right off the bat. Whereas everybody else is just like, oh, like, how do we know that you're the Lord? But these guys seem to just straight know. And he says, oh, well, then cast me into the swine. It's like, well, go ahead, knock yourself out. And then he probably went and go talk to the people over there, the legions. And then he was like, oh, okay, so I can see now. Okay, I get it. Like you said, the whole thing about, I think that's an important thing. Like their tradition of like going out to the graveyard at a certain time and like messing with the dudes that were crazy that were there, right?
Right, and there's even Aramaic expressions that we're not familiar with, but I forgot what it was. Was send me to or cast me into or something like that. Was allow me to make war with, or I forgot what it is because I haven't looked at it in a while. But there are Aramaic expressions that to us we would take different because we would take it more literally, whereas there it meant something completely different.
Right. Yeah. Isn't there like, he's casting out demons and all this stuff, but then it's like, isn't there a part where it said like, didn't they come back to him and they're like, oh, wow, like even the demons listen to us, right? Or even the devils listen to us or something like that.
Right, and I was looking at Matthew of all the instances where it was demon possessed, that word, and it's used synonymous with sickness in many cases.
Right? Because all it took was Jesus to say one thing, and they were like, oh, now we know he has a demon. Like, the demon thing was just their belief, It doesn't mean that there's actually demons.
Yeah, that's what they inherited from the Greeks, just like they inherited Satan from the Persians.
Right, and I think that all the demons are, for the most part, well, back in the day, at least for the Greeks, is just deified men. It's a guy that once upon a time was really popular. They liked him, and now he's a god to them or something, or a demon. I mean, it's just, everybody's got that word demon in their head so firmly planted, like it's hard to even use that word. Like daemonion is the word really that they use, or diablos for devil, right? It's not. And daemonion doesn't mean like evil spiritual entity. Yeah, I think there's a lot of confusion that comes with that whole demon, angel, fallen angel, Satan thing. I think that's all bad news. Indeed. Right, because if you're going to have like an idol made out of stone or something, right, what are you going to do? You're going to worship the stone, right? If there's no spirit living inside the stone, like, it's just a rock. Like, you're the one that's crazy making that stuff up, right?
Right. I didn't mean to get you off on that rant, but
No.
I was just saying that the 10th Legion movements, I think it was the 13th, or I know the 15th Legion, so I know the 10th and the 15th were there. And I think those their movements were recorded, so it'd be interesting to see if they all did come from that area, the Euphrates.
Yeah, and I don't mean to go off on the rant, but when given an opportunity, I just got to throw it in there real quick. You never know who might be listening at some future time.
Right, you're Satan's greatest foe.
Totally.
Well, I do need to go now, so it's 11.
Yeah, I'll end the broadcast for now.